Hey everybody, welcome to Freaky Friday, as Berm has called it, on the podcast daily. I'm Austin Ward. That, of course, is Berm, the king of the freaks.
Yep, freaky.
That's Bill Landis. We're going to get right into it. So, the Buckeyes have given us a couple days off.
Yeah.
But they're still going to practice throughout the weekends, but it's sort of our training camp break. So we're hanging out in the Land-Grant Beer Garden with our good friends from Land-Grant. We've got some beverages. Bill's got a new hat.
I love this hat.
Philadelphia
Flyers colors. Fits like a glove. It's sweat wicking, I was told, which I need.
I believe the term is moisture wicking.
Moisture wicking. It's great. Has everything you can need in a hat.
Yeah. And after this week at Snappy J's, when I stand right next to him, sometimes I'm like, you need a sweat wicking.
Tell this guy down.
So we're going to be putting that.
It's like a boxing match when there's a guy in the corner just swipe. Yeah. We need a sweat guy for Bill.
And Berm's had a great week, so we wanted to celebrate.
Yeah.
So we've got, I've got the new Hazy. James, what's this one called?
That would be Party Parrot.
Party Parrot.
Oh, girl!
We're hanging out with that. James from Landgrant is right there. He's off camera. He's monitoring what we're doing. We're going to talk about the Buckeyes.
I like the Buckeyes. I like talking about them as well.
What you wanted to do for Freaky Friday was you're supposed to host it.
Yeah.
Because you think that Freaky Friday is your show.
Incorrect.
Well, I didn't mean that.
I just think that on Fridays we should be able to cut loose a little bit. We should be able to talk about some off-topic stuff if we want. We should be able to go down the list of like weird things that are happening. Like last week we talked about, freshmen that could contribute. Or we could talk about schedule challenges. We could talk about anything you guys want. And I don't want to be the guy dictating what we're talking about. That's not my nature. I'm a go along with person, not a go along with me type person. Bill, what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so the idea that was pitched to us for Freaky Friday by Land-Grant was the biggest freaks on the Ohio State roster.
That makes sense.
Where we poached Bill from. We got our own freak right here.
I believe in poaching.
Bruce Feldman writes about that, and they chose Marvin Harrison as Ohio State's representative. Now, I will add some caveats from what I know about the freaks list, which is that Mickey Marotti does not like to reveal testing information to the public. Me, you, him, anybody, Bruce Feldman. That makes it hard for the national media to get their hands on what really are some of the most outrageous testing numbers in all of college football in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on any given day. So Marvin Harrison is a good choice. Would he be your choice?
No. I think he'd be pretty high up there. We were talking about this, off camera a couple beers ago. And the first guy that leaped to mind for me is Sonny Styles. Like, how is anybody a better, height, weight, speed athlete than Sonny Styles on this roster? I get, he's 17 years old. He should be in high school. I understand all that. He's not probably even close to reaching sort of his athletic peak. But when you look at his size, especially relative to his position, when you look at him out with the safeties, he just looks like he doesn't belong there. But I don't mean that in a bad way. And then you watch his tape and his range, his physicality, his length. I guess maybe Zach Harrison you say all the same things about, but I don't know. I'd put Sonny Styles up against anybody on that.
Sonny, what makes him interesting is that you have those physical traits, but then you also take the fact that his father was an NFL football player. His father played at Ohio State. He also has an extremely sharp football mind. So you're dealing with a kid that's not just a physical freak, but a guy that really understands football. And in a year, people are going to be talking about him nationally. Is that Isaiah Simmons type? Jim Knowles ruined things, I guess, a week ago by saying that he was going to be a secret weapon, but he's not a secret weapon. If Sonny Styles is being counted on by Ohio State this year as a playmaker, there's something went wrong. But I think Zach Harrison's still that guy to me because you see the numbers. You see 6'6", almost 270 pounds, 4'5'8", 4'5'7" type 40, a guy that has run a sub 22 in the 200. This is a guy that
those verified times.
Well, when he was in high school, that's what he was running.
I'll verify him right now.
That's what he was running in high school. It was a 22-second 200, and he's a player that we all have a few folks that we know that in the NFL circles, right? And the NFL is super high on Zach Harrison, way higher on him than Ohio State fans traditionally have been, and I think they see that upside and the length, the speed, the acceleration. That's a kid that's got just a really unique skill set. I actually did on Thursday when we were at Ohio State. I brought up what he did to us the other day, and he forgot about it. And then I reminded him, and he started laughing like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that." So it was fun to see him just kind of relax. But I would say Zach Harrison, if you're looking for like just a freak, line him up, let him do athletic things, he'd probably still be the guy that I'd pick. Just the difference between him and Sonny Styles is that Zach's 21, almost 22 years old. Sonny's 17.
It's a pretty insane disparity in age in the same roster. 22 and 17.
It's uncommon. I wonder, Burn may be able to speak on this much more than me, how much more this is going to happen in the recruiting process with the reclassification. This is 2 years in a row that's happened for Ohio State. Certainly for the first one of those two, it was premature and that person was not ready for it. We'll see what happens for them elsewhere. They're no longer at Ohio State. Don't think that's going to happen with Sonny Styles. That's probably a conversation for a different episode of the Podcast Daily. So put a pin in it. We'll drill down on it later. What I think is interesting about the freaks list, they're narrowed down to pure, raw, nasty athleticism. And the guys on Ohio State's roster, to me, that are the most impactful aren't going to register. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, when he goes to the combine, is he going to blow people away with a 40 or a 3-cone shuttle drill? No, he's not going to. And certainly when you compared him to Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, even last year, he's not the same athlete as those two. But as a receiver, as a route runner, as someone who can do absolutely acrobatic, insane things when the ball is in the air and in his area, how are we supposed to quantify him? He is a freak.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I did ask Kyle McCord, CJ Stroud, and Devin Brown on Thursday if he should be allowed to practice.
He did. I can
they all said he should, so I guess I lose that. They all said that Jackson still should be allowed to practice.
I was there when you asked Devin Brown, and I interjected and said, "You don't have to answer that."
But he wanted to.
Objection, Your Honor.
But he did answer it. They all said that he should be able to practice. And I thought what was interesting is that CJ Stroud said the defense is making it a lot harder than they had before. So, like, if you're looking for little tidbits, that's interesting, right? But anyway, who's your so is Jackson your guy? Is he your freak?
I want to bring it up because I think that, I understand the concept, and I'm not trying to undercut it or dismiss it. In terms of what we're talking about, pure raw athleticism, Jackson Smith and Jigba is not going to register there. I think that that's unfair because he's one of the best players in college football. And the same thing I believe is true for CJ Stroud. How are you supposed to measure that for quarterbacks with he's not going to run a 4.3 40 like Justin Fields? We've talked about his arm strength. It's better. He looks more physically prepared than he did a year ago. He's not going to throw, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. That's not what CJ Stroud does. So how are you supposed to calculate that? I'm not trying to dismiss the principle of this, but I just think that there's a place for this where guys are football players that don't jump out of the gym, don't stop the stopwatch faster than others, and I think that that should be recognized. I think that Jackson Smith and Jigba is an absolute freak, and to say Marvin Harrison is more or less of a freak, it's different. So I think I would just want to have that caveat for those two. And then I would say that Josh Proctor, I'd like to measure.
Josh is a freak.
Land-Grant Beer Garden.
There's also a lot of freakishness happening on the cornhole tables right now.
Yeah.
So if the boards, tables, whatever. So if you hear a random thump, 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 I'm sorry, but say la vie.
We're trying it.
Yeah, we're out here.
Is there a way to measure the force that Josh Proctor put on Jack Young when he buried him in the ground?
The sound is a pretty good way to do it. I don't think I've heard a hit like that in my time on the beat.
Yeah, I think he's one of the most unique athletes that I've been around, and he has way more power in that frame than you think there ever should be. He looks pretty skinny, even still with 5 years of development in the upper body. He's way more cut slab, cut of beef
What a crop.
than he was when he got here. He still doesn't look like someone who should just be able to bury a human being in the ground, and he can't.
Well, it's not like it feels to me almost like a baseball analogy. Like some of the best power hitters in baseball are not big dudes, but they generate such good bat speed that the ball just jumps off of them and like has good launch angles and stuff. Like I'd love to know like Josh Proctor's like miles per hour when he like locks onto somebody. Because you're right, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not a super imposing physical presence. Like he's a well put together athlete, but you wouldn't look at that guy and like, oh, that guy's a thumper. Like you look at like Roger Mitchell and say that guy's a thumper, and he is. But Josh Proctor, I think, just generates that by sheer force of velocity. Because I think he's really good at what Jim Knowles calls pulling the trigger. Sees it, accelerates to his top end speed faster than probably the normal person does, and then when he gets to that point of contact, it's not I'm going to hit you and then stop. It's I'm going to hit you and keep going. And keep going.
He like puts the law of inertia in jeopardy. Like he keeps going through. Like you're supposed to stop when you're met by an equal or opposite force, right? And he does not. My next choice, if I'm going to put one, is a guy that I think people are expecting things of that hasn't really happened yet. And that's Julian Fleming. Like if you look at a kid like that who's 6'2", 200 pounds, he's still running, 4.3 something. He just looks like a bad dude when he's out there. And we haven't seen that translate to catching a lot of balls for Ohio State. But if you go back to 2020 and remember when Chris Olave couldn't play in the Big Ten championship game, Garrett Wilson was on the other side, and Julian Fleming was the guy that in the first half had like 5 catches and looked like he was ready to start to ascend the depth chart at Ohio State. Had some injuries that then slowed him down, and
I think it was 3, and it should have been.
It should have been 5, whatever. But and then last year you had those moments. He had the catch at Nebraska that got overruled that he didn't have. You had the big moment in the Rose Bowl. I thought it was. I thought it was, and you had the Rose Bowl where he hurt his shoulder again, but then 5 minutes later was just shoving it back into place and going out there. And, to me, that kind of toughness for a kid that has a lot of built-in excuses to not be that tough if he really wanted it. He plays a diva position. He was the number 1 ranked player in the country by ESPN in the class of 2020. So it's not like you're talking about just a random throwaway guy. Like this was a 5-star all-everything type receiver. But if you look just physically, Julian Fleming's still that dude.
Interesting how much attention is being paid to that wide receiver.
Those are some freaks.
Because you put Emeka on that list too, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, Emeka obviously was number 1 ranked wide receiver in the class of 2021. Not a guy that, when you look at him, like if you compared Jackson Smith and Jigba and Emeka Ibuka, just physical numbers, raw speed, that kind of stuff, you would take Emeka 9 times out of 10. But Jackson is a freak in just his ability to be technically perfect. I mean, I've talked before that like I try to compare these guys, and to me, Jackson Smith and Jigba is like Larry Fitzgerald down the road. Like that's who I think he's going to be in the NFL. And you may not look at a guy like that and go, oh, that's the player you'd want to build around, but like that's the player I'd want to build around.
Billy, if you could only pick one
beer, there's some gnats out here.
There are. They want our beer. Land-Grant beer is delicious, so everybody wants it, including the insects.
Nazi.
Absolutely.
Nazi boys.
One offensive line. You have to pick just one.
Oh, that's an easy choice.
I mean, it has to be DeWan. I don't. Like,
wow. Okay, I guess it wasn't an easy choice because
not for you.
That's not who I thought you were taking. Okay.
He's 6'9", 360 pounds, and like moves incredibly well.
Seems like the definition of a freak.
Yeah, like he's like Paris Johnson is an incredible athlete. Nimble on his feet,
skinny ankles,
6'7", skinny ankles, incredible length, moves the way you want a left tackle to move. People that are DeJuan Jones' size should not be able to move the way that DeJuan Jones does. And that, in my mind, is the definition of a freaky athlete. You could have a conversation about Paris. Certainly have a conversation about Donovan Jackson.
Oh, that's the name I was waiting for you to say.
I mean, incredible athlete.
So why do you think that Donovan Jackson is a no-brainer?
Because at his size, he's a legit, like, stacked 6'5", 320 pounds. And the dude is so physically strong but he's also like such a calm, easygoing. I don't know. That combination to me is just so unique. Paris at 6'7", 310 pounds, like he was built in a left tackle lab, right? Donovan Jackson, I'm just going to say this right here. If Donovan Jackson Donovan Jackson is the second best left tackle on this Ohio State roster right now. He's also the best guard on this roster right now. He's also would be the second best or maybe the best right tackle on this roster right now.
I'm going to say best receiver, too.
I've seen him catch a ball. Big hands, good eyesight,
right.
good vision. I just love everything about Donovan Jackson. I thought that he was the best offensive lineman.
What do you know about his eyesight, bro?
I mean, I don't know. He sees the future.
20/20 vision.
I just thought that he was the
I
best.
didn't know that Mick had measured that.
I thought he was the best offensive lineman in the country in the class of 2021, regardless of like the fact that he lacks prototypical tackle size when he was playing tackle in high school. That kid's just a bad dude. Like, and that combination of his ability to be like a very nice kid off the field. Like, we ask these players to flip a switch. And to me, like, if you have that ability to do that the way he does, that's freaky to me because not everyone has that. Freaky, you can define freaky however you want, right? Like,
Freaky fast delivery.
freaky fast delivery is not particularly freaky fast right now, America. Let's be clear. Okay, there has been a slowdown on that front. But let's pick one more.
Talking to you,
Freaky fast.
Bethel and Sawmill location.
Let's pick one more player because I have a feeling things are about to get weird.
It's Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
I'm really bending the rules. You guys are taking the best pure raw athletes, and that's great. That's really the whole point of it.
Sure.
I think that
Tell us about Jesse Mirko.
I think Cade Stover's ability
Oh, yeah.
to play any position on the football field is remarkable. That's freaky. That you could play at a not just the Division I level, Big Ten level, national championship contender level. That you could play linebacker, defensive end, fullback, tight end, anything that they ask you to do.
For a guy that played running back and safety in high
If they
school.
had told him to play safety, if they put him in the backfield, if they're like, oh gosh, what are we going to do if another injury pops up? Evan Pryor's out and something else happened, and they're like, oh, let's just put Cade Stover back there. And you'd be like, sure, no problem. That's remarkable because that's extremely hard to do at the level that this program is at. When I first started covering college football, I covered Wyoming. And you could be like, you've got a country strong kid from Gillette, Sheridan. We're going to put him anywhere. Their body type is like, okay, you could do anything from safety to running back to tight end to anything. You know,
But they were all 6'2",
they
205.
weren't going to be able to do that at the level that Ohio State demands. This kid, is he 6'4"?
6'4" and a half, 260 pounds.
260 pounds. And that you could say, yeah, hand it to Cade Stover. Throw it to Cade Stover. Let him on a wheel route. Give him short notice and let him play linebacker in the greatest rivalry in college football. Have him go out there in the Rose Bowl on 1 month's notice with no experience in a year and a half. Like, it's insane.
And now he's tight end one at
what
Ohio
he's
State.
capable of doing. And then what we've seen in training camp from him, that's freaky. I don't think there are a lot of people that can do what Cade Stover can do. And
Cows don't take a day off.
Cows
do not
don't take a day off. And that doesn't mean that he's going to run a 4.440. He won't.
He said he ran a 4.58, so he's super slow also. I mean, that's the thing. The whole point is, like, you're talking about all this stuff, but then if you measure in the measurables, which I think you have to do with measurables, you have to measure them, he's still 6'5", 260 running a 4.58, and he's one of the pound-for-pound strongest guys on the team. And then you couple that with the fact that he may be one of the best leaders on the team. I mean, that's a freak.
All right, that's my last bet.
He was, am I right that he Mr. Football and a finalist for Mr. Basketball?
Yes.
Is that right?
He's the all-time leading
Buckeyes.
basketball scorer at Lexington High School, and it was Mr. Football.
Like, I know C.J. Stroud saying that they would beat the basketball team is like a ludicrous thing to say. But I thought the fact that, like, when
Ridiculous.
I would absolutely pay to watch it.
hater.
If you want to,
No.
I'm saying if you want me to pay to watch a college basketball game,
you wanna see
that's what I do.
You picked DeJuan as a
I'd
freak.
rather watch that game than watch Ohio State basketball play Northwestern.
100%.
Sign me up for that.
100%.
But when we were all like having
NIL management. Are you writing
Albany,
this down?
here come the Greyhounds.
we were all having fun with C.J. Stroud saying that, and then guys were talking about like who they picked for their five, and they all picked Cade Stover. That I thought that meant something. Like that guy, because I don't think if you lined up the team, I don't know if you pick Cade Stover unless you knew his basketball background.
The same thing is true for tight end, right? Like
right.
You don't look at Cade and think that's a starting tight end in the Big Ten. But here we are 2 weeks before the season opener against Notre Dame, and that is clearly tight end 1 for Ohio State at this moment.
Anyway.
I'm really high on him. Like,
Who's your pick?
I mean, want me with another pick?
Yeah, you got to have one.
Mike Hall.
Ooh, I like it.
Zach Harrison on Tuesday said that Mike Hall is, quote, twitched up unlike any other player I've seen on this roster.
Oh my, folks.
And
Mike Hall's mother
said the same thing.
Called him the LeBron James of Streetsboro 2 years ago when we were, I mean, to your point, like he's a freak.
Devastating first step.
Well, she might be a little biased, but
Probably.
Maybe.
And his teammates probably are too. But if you watched Mike Hall at Streetsboro, he was an animal. Incredible first step, like as strong as you want a player to be, like especially for a guy who's not like Tommy Togiai and Devon Hamilton, 300 plus pounds. I think he's, for his body type, he is probably as strong as those kind of guys. But then has that quick step to be a dynamic pass rusher too. Like I think we can get carried away a lot this time of year when people start talking players up, especially guys who have not played much. But it's really hard for me not to buy that Mike Hall stock because of what I knew of him as a high school player and what I knew of him as a prospect. Like, and the fact that he just sort of got overlooked in that class because of JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, excuse me. I think that's a guy that's going to surprise some people and surprise people with a dynamic skill set that I'm not sure many people know that he has.
The other guy on Feldman's list was Tyleik Williams, right, from Ohio State. He's the only other Buckeye that made it.
Yeah.
And you can understand why at 6'3", 330 pounds, super quick. I mean, you're talking about guys that play multiple positions, that came from high school doing different things. And we could talk about Cameron Martinez, for example.
I cannot believe it's taken this long to get there.
We could talk about Cameron Martinez.
Our Freaky Friday list, and he was going to leave.
We could.
Cameron.
We could talk about Cameron Martinez.
Oh my goodness!
But I'm going to go for my last choice with Cameron Martinez. I was
about to text him right now.
I think
like,
that
oh my goodness.
you don't have Cam's number. Don't kid yourself. The point is, when you have a player like that who never played defense,
Didn't know Cam had a burner.
never played defense in his life before he arrived at Ohio State. So this isn't a kid who, no offense to any other school in the country, this is Ohio freaking State, right? You just show up and you're like, well, I guess I'll try this. And you walk in the middle of all the COVID hysteria, the pandemic. You don't have any idea what you're doing. You don't know when you're going to be working out. He takes 6 months to learn how to play a position, and now we're in a position where Ohio State coaches are like, this is a guy that we really trust. And he may not look freaky, but at 6 foot 6'1", and a really solid 205, 210 pounds, he's still one of the quickest guys on the team. Unbelievable with the ball in his hands, and has an idea. Like a year ago when Steel Chambers moved to running back, or from running back to linebacker, one of the questions I asked was, how did playing running back make you a better linebacker? And Steel was like, I see things before they happen because I know what I would be doing if I was a running back. And I think that there's a similar feeling, a similar vibe for that with Cam, who has played quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and understands what these guys are seeing in a different way. And I think that's been a huge benefit to him. But please just put the ball in his hands. Do you guys know that he had a high school, his senior year highlight tape was 9 straight minutes of touchdowns?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. 9 minutes of nothing but touchdowns.
That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, me too. It seems pretty good though.
I'm just saying.
Wait,
But
is Ohio State aware of that?
Here's the reality. We're talking about Ohio State football, right? There's 84 scholarship players on the roster right now.
Other than Cam Martinez?
70 of these guys could make a list somewhere for being the freak. To leave guys off like Jack Sawyer, who 6'6", 270 pounds, I mean, what he's done to his body in this short amount of time. JT Tuimoloau, we could go down the list. There's Jaden Ballard is a freaking athlete. Like, put on
freaking.
When you're talking about putting on basketball tape, put on Jaden Ballard. Watch the explosion that kid has in the open court. Like, you got some bad dudes, bad mamma jammas on that team, and doesn't always translate to football. But athletically, I mean, this is obviously, there's a reason Ohio State's one of the top 2 or 3 programs in the country year in and year out.
Yeah, it was a great topic for a Freaky Friday. great to be in the Land-Grant Beer Garden. We appreciate them so much for having us out here, giving us a couple beverages. We want sometimes the conversations to get a little more freaky.
I prefer casual.
A little casual.
Little cash.
And so that's what we did.
And these guys are really good at cornhole.
They are. We hope you liked it. If you didn't,
Sorry.
We won't. We're working on it. We're doing some stuff that is a little unusual.
Outside
and
the
we like
box.
coming to Land-Grant because also this place out here, Beer Garden, every Sunday, F1 races, it's the place to be.
F1 stands for Football 1.
Thursday nights, we know that there's live music. You want to be out here. There's cornhole. There's some Papa Shot.
Not Papa Shot. Basketball shooting.
Is that trademarked? I'm sorry. There's not putt-putt, just a putting green. It's a great place to be.
Wintertime, there's curling.
We love Land-Grant. That's coming. We'll save that for
Everything.
later. We're hoping to come here a lot more. We hope they have us back. That's Bill Byrne. I'm Austin. Thanks for joining us on the Podcast Daily. We'll see you on Monday.